Okay, this is our fourth stop, and we're going to talk a little bit about natural succession. And I know for you second graders, that's a big word, but what it really means is quite simple. It means things changing from one thing to the next. And let's focus on you for a second. Most of you second graders are 7 years old. Last year in first grade, you were 6. Next year in third grade, you'll be 8, and so on. So as each year passes, you get a little bit bigger, and it goes on from there. And a forest is a similar kind of situation. About 150 years ago, much of this forest wasn't here. Much of the land by the early colonialists and farmers, they cleared the land for farming, and also the charcoal industry was pretty big before anthracite coal started coming into the state from Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and other places. So the charcoal was very important to heat homes and industry, and also farming was huge. Most of the towns in Connecticut were farm towns, except maybe the big cities were not. And as years passed, younger generations didn't want to farm so much, so they sold off the family farmland, and then the state got more crowded and with development. So between loss of farms and loss of charcoal industry, much of the forest in Connecticut has regenerated. And today I think about 55% of Connecticut is still forested. And we're going to look at a couple of trees here. You notice on the ground here, this is the remnant of a red cedar tree. And let's see, there are others here, like that dead tree against that tree over there. That's a red cedar. And when the land was first cleared, red cedars were one of the first trees to emerge from the soil. And so they were growing up nicely and healthy. And then this is called a hardwood tree, or a deciduous tree, which has leaves and then loses its leaves in the fall. Well, some of these hardwood trees like maples, oaks, beech, and cherry, they have the potential to get much taller than the cedar trees. So you'll notice as you look around that many of the cedar trees have died because they have lost their light due to the canopy of these taller hardwoods. And one thing I forgot to mention before was the stone walls that you see around here. And as I was mentioning, farmers and colonialists had lots of stones. So some of these stone walls that you see, which are historic, were boundary markers, property boundary markers, or in some cases they were used to contain the cattle or the sheep or the goats. It was kind of like a fence, a stone fence. Nowadays, we also see some invasive species that have crept into our country, and sometimes they're very pesky and it's hard to get rid of them, like Asian bittersweet and autumn olive and Japanese knotweed, which you'll see along Route 67. Anyway, if they're in your yard and you have the ability, try to get rid of them without poisonous means, because some of these aggressive invasive species take over more native species, not allowing them to grow. So that's it for now. We've got one more stop, a really special one.